So I'm 32, I have no modeling experience, no industry connections, really no idea what I'm doing. But I've decided I'm going to try and be a model. I don't think it'll be easy. I don't even know if I'll make it, but for a very long time I didn't even think I was enough to try. So here goes nothing. I grew up with very low self-esteem. I was a bit chubbier. I've always struggled with my weight. I was a brown girl growing up in Australia. You know, my parents were immigrants. They came from Sri Lanka. I had a very confused sense of identity. I didn't really feel like I belonged anywhere. And I grew up with a lot of dysfunction as well. I, for as long as I can remember, struggled with confidence in my body. I'm talking like prep. When I was 5 or 6 years old, it was, I had a lot of problems with not feeling chosen, not feeling good enough, feeling like I'm a problem, not feeling worthy. I have always been very functional, so I kind of always had an idea that I was capable. Academically, I was pretty good. I mean, the first few years of school I wasn't, but then, you know, later years, high school, academically I did pretty well, went to uni, but I always struggled with my self-worth, and a lot of it was tied to not feeling I had a safe support system and not really having people who would help me feel like I could do things. And I really didn't understand how to process or cope with my emotions, so I did a lot of escapism behaviors like binge eating, alcohol, partying, drugs, all that kind of stuff. Those coping habits got me through pretty much my late teens and all of my 20s. So there was a lot of numbing going on. There was a lot of disconnect from my body. There was still that underlying persistent voice in my head telling me that I wasn't good enough, I couldn't make it, I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. And I'd never live up to the expectations that people had of me. And obviously culturally, being Sri Lankan, there are very different family expectations than there are for Australian people. And it was made a lot worse because I'm an only child. So it was all up to me to kind of live out this dream, I guess, that my parents had of coming to this country and then having a successful high status career like a doctor or a lawyer, and, you know, taking advantage of the education that I've been given. But after a very long time running and distracting and numbing, I really didn't like who I was, and I really didn't like where my life was, and I made a really big change. And that was the end of 2023, so it hasn't really been that long. And I made that change because I didn't really feel like I had another choice. I felt like if I kept going down the path I was going down, I would not be living a very good life. And that scared me enough to force me to pretty much change everything about myself. All of my old friends fell away because I couldn't quite explain what was going on. It was this massive identity shift. I literally didn't have the vocabulary to explain how I was feeling, what was going on, how things were changing, what was going to happen, what I needed from people as well. I wasn't able to articulate that. So I stopped drinking, stopped smoking, stopped partying, stopped wearing makeup, stopped buying clothes, stopped pretty much everything that made me who I was, the things that I really enjoyed, stopped doing my nails, stopped doing any kind of beauty stuff. It was very extreme. It was like a very extreme detox. And I did that for almost 12 months. And then slowly I realized that I could still do those things like wear makeup and get dressed nicely without it coming from a place of insecurity. That's when I really started realizing the difference between doing things from a place of insecurity and doing things from a place of self-love. That's essentially the journey that I went on for the last 2 years, is building the foundation of that place of self-love, of safety within myself. And that meant that I didn't have to then try and find that safety outside of myself in other people and lose myself in relationships or in circumstances that I couldn't control. It's been a pretty rough journey, especially in the beginning, because I didn't realize what was going on. My friends didn't really know what was going on. There was only one friend that kind of made it through that time. And she's my best friend now, and we live together and everything's great. But at the time, it was really difficult, and I really didn't know if things would get better or if they would just stay depressing forever. So I started doing the work. I started doing the internal work, the shadow work, the therapy, the journaling, all of the things that actually helped me understand myself better, increase my self-awareness, all the personal development stuff, and started actually looking at the self-sabotaging, the shame, the parts of myself that I tried to run from, that I tried to hide, that I didn't want anyone else to know. And in that journey of discovering myself, I was able to then have compassion for myself. I was able to start loving the parts of myself that I had rejected or shamed for so much of my life, and rewriting the narratives behind what those parts of me were doing and how they're actually helping me, rather than looking at them as annoying or difficult. And because I was able to start loving all of the parts of me, that is actually what really allowed me to start creating safety within myself. And this journey of self-development that I've been on for the last 2 years has allowed me to get to a place where I feel like I can do anything I want to do. I just need to decide what it is that I want to do. And that's a pretty incredible place to be, considering I used to think that I could not do anything without the help of someone else or something else. Like, I really didn't believe in myself, and I really didn't feel like I had the capacity or the capability to do the things that I wanted to do, to achieve dreams, to achieve goals. And being a model is something that I wouldn't have even been able to fathom as a teenager or as a kid. I used to watch America's Next Top Model and Australia's Next Top Model with my mom, and I used to be like, there's no way that I could ever be a model. And I actually really wanted to be a singer when I was a kid, but I had such low self-esteem that I didn't like performing in front of people. I just really loved to sing. And modeling is a type of performance that the inner child in me is so almost excited about being able to have the opportunity to do. And here's the thing, after I came out of my detox, I still really loved to take care of myself and dress up well and do my makeup and do my nails and look really nice, and also take photos. Like, I've always loved doing that. I've always liked taking photos and looking put together and helping my friends decide on their outfits and taking photos of them and doing all of that kind of stuff. I've always loved doing that. But modeling felt like it was for, the tiny, skinny girls that just naturally didn't even have to worry about their weight or how they looked in clothes. Not for the curvier girl who's always struggled with her weight and her body image. And it's funny because when I started considering doing modeling, which was towards the end of last year, it kind of crossed my mind. And my first thought was kind of like, you can't do that. Don't even think about it, because you can't do it. And then I started really considering it probably like a couple of weeks ago, like really considering like, okay, what's it going to take? Like, what do I actually need to do to become a model? And what is a model? And why am I feeling so resistant to the idea of becoming a model? There was a lot of not a lot, but there was some internal beliefs that I had to face in order for me to actually decide that this is what I wanted to do. I had a voice that kind of told me that, I won't be taken as seriously and people will overlook my intellect because I'm modeling and I'm getting paid for how I look, and it's less respectable to be a model. And I'm not saying that any of this stuff is true. This is just kind of the stuff that came up for me. And even some of the stuff that came up, I was surprised to actually look at it and be like, oh, why do I think this? Like, where is this coming from? Because it's not from me. It's the things that I've kind of been told and the way that I've been raised. When I got past those thoughts and looked into it a little bit more, I was like, I'm pretty much already doing this. Like, I'm pretty much already getting dressed up, doing my makeup, taking photos. And so why can't this be a career for me? Plus, with social media now, it's probably the easiest it's ever been to become a model and represent a brand or a product. And so I was like, okay, well, I may as well try this. I mean, I'm already creating content for fun anyway on my personal Instagram. And then the next hurdle was actually telling the people closest to me about this idea. And I was very nervous because I was like, oh no, they're going to judge me. They're going to think that, you know, I don't know what I thought they were going to think, honestly, because I like my friends. My friends are great and they've been nothing but supportive, which is why they are my friends. And so I don't know why I thought that they were going to be like shocked or surprised. But literally everyone that I told, I was like, oh yeah, I'm actually really thinking about modeling. And everyone's reaction was the same. It was, oh, okay, fair enough. So what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to do that? Like, what's the next step? And like, can I help you? And like, they were just really supportive and also very much like, yeah, that makes sense. Which to me was very surprising because I just didn't see myself as a model or as someone that could be a model. So for them to react in that way, that was so accepting and understanding of the concept already, really was very reassuring for me. So that was really I feel like that was just kind of what I needed to be able to be like, okay, this is something that makes sense. And this is something that is not just like totally random and totally crazy. It's just the way that I think about it and the way that I think about myself. Obviously, my self-image has not caught up with all of the changes that I've made over the last 2 years, which is fair enough. There's like 29 years worth of old Nadi and all the things that I know that she did and that she thought. So I have to give myself a bit of grace. But honestly, I don't know anything about modeling. I don't know anything about posing. I've literally got like 2 poses that I do and that's all I know. I don't know about the technical terms and the differences between fashion and types of photography and any of that kind of stuff. So I'm literally starting from like pretty much zero. I know my own, like I have my own clothes that I recycle pretty much. I don't have a very big wardrobe. I don't know what to do with my hands sometimes or my face or much about any of it. So pretty much everything I'm learning is from my own research, social media, YouTube, and I've got no contacts. So I've got one friend that does makeup, hair and makeup, and that's about it. And so it's really going to be starting from the bottom. And so I thought it would be a really fun process to document the whole thing because you're just going to watch me fail. And eventually, I think it would be really cool to be able to look back if I do make it, when I do make it, and look back on my progress and look back and see how far I've come. Because one thing that I really regret not doing is creating content from when I started this personal development journey in 2023 or even before that, because the changes that I have made have been huge, massive. And I think it would have been so cool to be able to actually see the change. Like I have old journal entries and things that I can read, but to be able to actually see the change, I think that would be incredible. And whatever happens, I'm happy that I'm even just going to follow this dream, even though I'm kind of scared and I really don't know how it'll work out. And as someone who has always struggled with perfectionism her whole life, and not trying something because she's afraid that she will fail, and not being able to stick something out because I'm bad at it in the beginning, I think that this will challenge all of those things. The real reason that I want to pursue modeling is for that inner child who didn't think that she was enough, who had to hide from the world, who shrunk herself, who didn't ever feel like adored or appreciated for her essence, and who thought being visible was not safe. This decision to pursue modeling is very much me saying to her in a very loud way, you're allowed to take up space, you're allowed to express yourself, you're allowed to be seen, you're allowed to shine, even if it's messy, even if it's scary, even if you don't succeed. And 2026 for me is definitely the year where I build a life that aligns. So currently my day job is in admin, which I'm really good at, but it's very draining because there's no creativity in it, there's no variety in it, there's no like fun spark in it. And modeling is a way that I can connect to my creativity again, because I've always been creative as a child. And I think it's funny that when we grow up, we stop being creative and following our passions because we have to get like serious and responsible and become adults. But that creativity is so important for us to feel fulfilled, I think. And eventually I want modeling to help give me a platform to build a brand, to build a community, to help other women who struggle with self-worth and body image and feeling safe within themselves. So hopefully this whole journey will be inspirational and just a message that if I can do it, then you can definitely do it too. So this channel is going to be all about documenting wins, rejections, awkwardness, learning curves, growth. I'm going to be as raw and real as I possibly can, so that if you've ever felt too old, too late, too scared, I want this to show you that all of those things are just limitations that you have in your own mind. If you haven't already, please subscribe and let's grow together.